Hey everyone, it is Coach Mitch Stein, also known as Mr. Pomona. Right now, everyone's worried about interest rates. Interest rates, interest rates, interest rates. Right now, they hover at right about 7%, a little lower than 7%, and it's pricing some people out of the market. But the good news is, if you're using a good real estate agent with a good lending partner, we can get that interest rate, buy down that rate to the low fives. If you want to know how, watch the rest of this video. If you want to talk to me about more of this information, you can email me direct at coachmitchstein@gmail.com or check out my personal website, coachmitchstein.info. You can also send me a direct message and find my other contact information down below. Watch this video and learn how you can lower your interest rate. What is happening in the market? Interest rate is insane, right? So the issue is that people are like, ah. So we have Wendy on. She is going to talk about how we can get your clients a lower interest rate. I need you to listen and take notes because you're going to need to have this conversation with your buyers. So, Wendy,
Hi.
take it over.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning,
So,
Wendy.
hi. So I'm going to share my screen just for a couple minutes. Oop, not that. Hold on one second. Let me share my screen so you guys can see some things really fast here. Share. Okay. So can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is interest rate history since 1992, which, is a shorter span than historical all over the place when you can see the 80s, which were in the teens, but this shows a good snapshot. So rates in the 90s, early 90s, were in the nines. See this right here, nines. And then when you come and you see all this craziness that happened, in 2020, 2021, when our rates were way down here in the threes and twos, they have gone up significantly. Yes. And so I would never deny that to any person who was like, the rates suck. You're right. But maybe you don't know the history of it, right? These are still good rates for historical purposes. Okay. The other thing that I would share with you guys, can you guys see a different screen now?
No. Yes.
No?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. This is a buy down and not a 2-1 buy down because I don't like 2-1 buy downs. You guys are going to hear a whole lot of lenders talking about 2-1 buy downs. And personally, I don't like them. And Mitch and I were kind of talking about this before everybody jumped on. For me, a 2-1 buy down is not a benefit for a borrower. And the reason for that is we are qualifying them with a higher interest rate, right? Say the rate today is 7.625. We're qualifying them at 7.625. A 2-1 buy down works like this. The first year, they're going to get 5.625. The second year, they're going to get 6.625. And then the third year, they're back up to 7.625, right? But we've qualified them at this 7.625 from the beginning, which means they're not getting any buying power from that. They're going to have a lower payment, yes, in the first year and the second year, and it gives them time to build up to that higher interest rate, but it doesn't give them any benefit in terms of a purchasing power. With that same $10,000, what you can do, this is an example, okay? If you took a traditional $600,000 purchase price with a 5.5 interest rate, right? And you have the payment of $39.31, right? That's an example. This second one is if they do a price reduction, instead of doing a credit, a price reduction with the same interest rate gets you a $38.23. But if you go back up to a $600,000 purchase price and you get a 7K rate reduction, so you get 10 grand or 7,000 in seller credits, and you buy down their interest rate to 4.625 permanently for 30 years, you're saving them $305 a month. But that also helps them to qualify for more house. right? So instead of being at a 350, maybe they could get to 400, right? Do you guys have questions on that?
So my issue is what does the buy down? So the buy down is this is a permanent rate that they're buying
This
down.
is an example of a permanent rate buy down.
And what does that usually cost? Is there a percentage?
This one right here in this example was $7,000. So I can tell you I ran 2 scenarios this morning for different buyers. Their current rate would be a 6.625. And if they got $10,000 in seller credits, they could get to a 5.75. Or I have someone who's being quoted a 6.5 rate from a different lender. I said, if you want to go with par, I can get you 6.25, but with $10,000, I can get you 5.25. That helps them with their buying power. It also, if you've got someone who's super payment sensitive and they're like, well, last year I qualified for the same $400,000 house and my payment would have been $2,200. Now you're telling me it's $3,200. That's a pain. I can't do that. At least that difference in rate is going to save them, depending on the size of the loan and the size of the purchase price, $300 to $500 easily in payment.
I had a quick question, Wendy, and in regards to that, let's say they save $350 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how are we communicating that to the buyer? What would you suggest? How do you usually say why it's important, to spend that money? Let's say we have a buyer who's going to put 10% down, right? But we're not necessarily asking the seller, where they want to buy down their rate. And would you suggest a buyer use their own money to do this, or only ask a seller to pay?
So there are limits on what we can and can't do for a buyer using their own money. It's called where it hits a high cost loan, and we can't do high cost loans. So there's only so much we can charge a borrower. Now, if you're charging them 2 points to get that 5.25, you're going to be in a high cost area. With a 2-1 buy down, like everybody's trying to sell right now, you have to get seller credits to do it.
Right.
So in the same instance, why not use that same $10,000 in seller credits and buy down their rate permanently, so that they have a lower payment for 30 years versus 1 or 2 years?
Now, is this something you suggest negotiating before even writing the offer, or is this
I would suggest that when you are writing the offer, that you're asking for that credit. Definitely, I see a lot of agents that I work with right now are getting those credits very easily. You know what I mean? The sellers know that it's no longer their world. And it's currently the buyer's world. And so now we have to give them what they want. So what I would also tell your sellers, if you have sellers, is, like Mitch was saying earlier, prepare. We're not going to drop the price. If we have to do something, we'll negotiate for seller credits. Expect that that's what we're going to be asked, because everyone is asking for it. So when you have buyers going out there, the buyers I talk to, when I talk to them, I say, okay, so here's the situation. Par rate today is this. And I go through all the numbers with them. And I talk about, your interest rate would be this, your payment would be that. Now, if your realtor can get you some seller credits, it's not for sure, but they can always ask for them. Then we use that seller credit in order to buy down your interest rate and get your payment lower by this amount. And I do the numbers for them when I talk to them, when I'm doing like a pre-approval or a pre-qual or something like that. So I make sure that they understand, here's your top, here's your bottom, here's where we are in the middle. What are you comfortable with as a payment, right? The thing you need to also remember, and I would suggest writing this down because it varies, for FHA, you can ask for up to 6% seller concessions.
Mm-hmm.
For VA, it's 4%. And for conventional, it'll vary. If they're putting less than 10% down, it's only 3%. If it's over 10% down, they can ask for 6%.
Can you repeat that one more time?
All the way through?
No. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Oh, I don't have to.
No, just the conventional part.
Oh, okay. Conventional. 3% is what's allowed up to, if they're putting up to 10% down. Anything over 10% down, you can ask for 6%. So what I see a lot right now is people using those seller concessions to help the people get more comfortable with their finances, right? So that way people can use some, and that would be the other thing, just make sure you're not putting towards closing cost, because they're going to lose that money if it's not towards a closing cost. So
Right.
as an example, if you
recurring, right?
say it again.
The way we would write it would be like recurring or non-recurring. No?
Just put seller concessions. And it's actually in the RPA now as seller concessions. It's written in there for you. There's a box, I think, called other. So in there, just leave it as seller concessions. And for that, the benefit of that is, let's say they need to pay off debt. I have a client right now who has an $11,000 some sort of mechanic debt. I need him to pay that off so that they're comfortable with their payment. So we got $15,000 in seller credits, seller concessions, and that money is also going towards buying down their interest rate and paying off that debt, so they don't have to come out of pocket for it.
So Wendy, I'm a new agent. I don't understand a lot of what you're saying, or I'm a buyer and I understand nothing of what you're saying. How would you explain this program in 3 minutes to that?
Basically what I tell buyers is, if we can get you a lower interest rate with using seller credits and the payment is where you want it, is that what you want us to do? Because we're the experts, right? In terms of real estate and lending. The buyers just need to know, most of them are most concerned with what's my interest rate and what's my payment, right? Those are their biggest concerns as a buyer. And as agents and as lenders, our biggest concern would be putting them where they're happy and comfortable, right? And so if they understand that we're going to get them seller credits, which is a credit from the seller, it's not money from their pocket, then that is an easy kind of way to sell it for me. Maybe I'm missing your question, Mitch.
No, I think the issue is that, again, I want the agents to hear, you need to ask them, what is your payment threshold?
Right.
Because your interest rate, and this was the same thing at 3%. What people were like, what people were saying was, well, I don't want to spend $1 million for a house. And it's like, it's not about the cost of the house, and it's not about the interest rate. It's the payment. And in actuality, when we approve you for an amount, we're actually approving you for a payment based on how much you make. So what is the payment?
And there's a lot of times that I have a couple people, I talked to one person in particular last night. She wants a $2,200 payment, and she was looking at a house that was going to be $3,400. And I was like, well, the only way to get there is to look at a cheaper house. Because even if we bought her rate down the maximum that we could, it was still going to be $3,000. It wasn't going to be where she wanted it to be. So it needs to be something that makes sense to them in their heart, that I can afford this, and this is what I'm comfortable with.
So I think the conversation I want all of you to have is that when somebody says to you, oh, the interest rate, say, we have programs to get the interest rate down 2%. Well, how? Let me get you this person's phone number, because no matter how many times Wendy or any other lender explains this to you, this is not your job,
It's
right?
not. Yeah.
But
It's not. And in all
and
honesty,
I hope everyone's
yeah.
seen the math. Does anyone have any other questions about like how this works? My other question, my personal other question, Wendy, is there, so say next year the interest rate drops to 3% again, can I refinance?
Absolutely. You just got to make 6 on-time payments. So
So
essentially it's
so
7
a
months in the house.
the 7 month in the house. After 7 months, I can refinance.
Absolutely.
So it's not a 2-year
It's just a
prepayment.
regular, no, it's just a regular loan.
That is important for everyone to understand too, that if they have a loan with a 2-year prepayment penalty, they're stuck there for 2 years. They cannot refinance if rates drop. Poor Justin.
Sorry, Justin.
He was not in the real estate. He was not in the real estate game when he bought his house. So any other questions? Anything
I
else?
gotta go. I have an inspection. I'm here with the celebrity Shiloh cops, so I gotta go. The man might need me. I can't just be ignoring him. Shiloh, guys,
right.
Shiloh people. Anyway, sorry, I gotta go. Thank you, Wendy.
All right, thank you.
Bye, guys.
Wendy, that sheet that you showed us, can you co-brand that and send that out to us?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just need to have you guys sign up with Total Expert, which I can send everybody a link. I just need everybody's emails. I have Tara's, I have Justin's, JoJo's, Josiah's, Eddie and Tim. I don't have Mitch. I have yours too.
Okay. So can you put in the chat your email address? And then if anyone wants to co-brand, please go to the chat right now and email Wendy direct so that she can do that. We're going to let Wendy go, or you can stay on, Wendy. I want to talk to everybody about their
Let me write down Tim's email and then I'll go.
No problem. I want to talk to everybody about their weekend. Tara,